All right, welcome to another video from the chart readers. Today we are going to check out the EV sector. So it's been about 10 days since I made this last video. It was on the 19th since I made this last video, and you can see a lot has happened in those 10 days just looking at this Tesla chart, right? But let's take a step back. What are we going to do? As always, we're going to look at daily and weekly charts. We're going to use our 5 moving average lines as well as these horizontal support and resistance lines that I do manually draw. And then once we're done up here, we'll use our lower indicators, the MACD and the RSI. So, and then, hey, real quick, if you haven't already, check out the website, chartreaders.com. You can see all my past videos. And then at the bottom of this, there is a weekly email you can sign up that is completely free. So what's happened? Look, again, when we last made this video, there was a lot of bullishness happening, right? We'd broken the 200, we'd broken the 20, we've been riding the 8 for a long time. It looked like we broke 300. Yeah, it was all looking good, but then again, just keep in mind the NASDAQ is tech heavy, and if the NASDAQ's going to do bad, you can only imagine a tech heavy stock like Tesla, like a number of these that we're going to go through, are probably going to struggle. I didn't make the line, but I noticed this. I could have made a line here because, again, there was basically, I'm going to zoom out a bit. I hate when I zoom out, you know that. But there was this couple tests here. Again, the 300 line was a little more important, but look, it never actually got over that line. It closed exactly on it almost. Let me actually see. So what was the close? 309.32 over here. 309.07, right? Even on this big day, it didn't get over it. And then again, on this day, it didn't get over it. But nonetheless, look, again, a lot of this was the NASDAQ. I promise you that much. And unfortunately, this 300 wasn't enough to save it. Obviously, the 8 wasn't enough to save it. The next day, I mean, we at least try to bounce off the 50, but again, lose it. Never get over the 8, and then we're pretty much sitting at a scary place, right? We've lost this 272 line. It was a bounce once, definitely not good enough a second time. Hopefully this 100 line might be a bounce point. Otherwise, look, 250 is very realistic, and that is such an ugly RSI. That's a really ugly MACD. Again, you can see the line there. We're in the negative here. I mean, this RSI can go as low as, 20. Let's even get conservative, 14 to 20, and we're sitting at 34, right? So a lot of scariness coming at least short term on Tesla. Look, again, on the weekly, this 50 line was almost, to the penny. It ends up coming right onto my 300 basically last week. And then we're working our way down, right? So at least 2 weeks under the 8, we might lose this important cluster because, again, that's pretty much the 100. I zoomed out too much, sorry. But that's pretty much the 100 right here on the daily, right? So if we lose that on the daily, that means we're going to lose it on the weekly. And again, that same really ugly RSI. I don't like when the green looks like it wants to keep going and the red wants to stay up here, right? Because it's like a traffic light. Green is good, red is bad. So yeah, Tesla looking very, very, very bearish actually on the short term. Coming to MULN, look, listen to me. I am not here to bash this stock. I understand that this is a car company at 30 cents a share. Believe me, that sounded just as good as a car company at 50 cents a share. That sounded just as good as a car company at 70 cents a share, right? But again, I keep stressing, you never want to ask how much lower can this thing go, especially when, look, I'm going to do it in the weekly, so it's not that bad to zoom out. We're in all-time lows, right? Look, we've never traded this low, and I promise you, it could literally go to zero. By no means am I implying that it can, but every single stock can go to zero. And look, I hate averaging down, and I promise I am not bashing the stock. But look, it needs to get over the 8 before it's worth any of my money. And one more time, the NASDAQ's not doing good right now, right? Today was ugly. The last couple weeks were ugly. So there's only so much an unproven company like MULN can do. Again, will this be worth more than $1 in 5 years, 10 years? Hey, maybe, right? Maybe it's not. Maybe the car's actually going to suck and not do it, right? There's so many maybes between now and then that just saying 50 cents was a good deal, it wasn't. We're literally, almost 50% lower than that, right? Another 10 cents, and that's a 50% drop, right? And the same thing could have been said at 75, right? But I promise you, don't ask how much lower can it go, especially if this stock is sitting at all-time lows. So I'm not here to bash. I'm not even going to look at the weekly because there's just so much that needs to happen here. But be careful out there. Don't let your emotions take over, and don't keep averaging down. It lost me a lot of money back in the day, and it's one of the big lessons I do carry, and I'm glad I do. Look, LIDR, again, you can clearly see the sell signal was right here, right? We lose the 8, and I mean, it never really does anything sort of confirmation-wise, right? There was a peak here, but it failed, a peak here, but failed, peak here, but failed. I'm going to draw a new line at least, but again, I can't stress. Are there more lines below? Are we at all-time lows? Jeez, oh man, another one. So look, and again, that's a very bearish RSI, right? The green looks like it wants to keep going down while the red wants to stay up. That's not what we want. And look, the MACD's in the negative already, right? So a number of things looking bad. Again, on the weekly, just how many weeks under the 8, right? If you can't get over the 8 on the weekly, you're going to have so many bad days, right? So LIDR, again, I understand car companies need the technology to see everything around them, right? I have no idea if LIDR, if AI is the best one, are they better than Tesla? Does Tesla need them? I know a bunch of companies are trying to make their own, right? So again, just you got to take emotion out, understand what the conditions are, and man. So look at EVGO. I vividly remember my comments from last week. So look, this right here is a very, very, very tight cluster, right? Literally all 5 moving average lines are almost running in parallel with each other, right? There's also an additional 2 lines, you can almost even say 3 lines that I manually drew that are within a stone's throw away from that, right? And I remember saying on the 19th, look, it's either gonna go up or it's gonna go down. It can't sustain staying in here forever. And really, it took almost 10 days to do it, right? Because it did this show and then kind of recover, and then we're basically there again. But EVGO at this point looks like it's coming down to 730. Believe me, I am more than aware that chargers are important for cars. You know what? Let me just use the top of this one. Sorry, I'm talking and making these lines at the same time. I understand that. I know California did this, no non-electric cars after 34, 35, something like that. Look, that's a long time from now, and again, unfortunately, this is almost an unproven company, right? Tesla's at least been around longer. They've done more. And if Tesla's hurting, all these other ones that I'm going through are hurting. And unfortunately, I have to make more lines below like I just kind of keep doing, right? Just taking a quick look at the weekly. Look, 3 weeks under the 8. Now 2 weeks under the 20. This thing's going, again, I don't want to make blunt claims, right? But this looks extremely bearish. Interesting RSI. I don't know why that's kind of looking like it's going up, but yeah, I'm sticking with it, and I do apologize. And I swear, I'm not here to bash on any of these stocks, right? Man, Polestar. Look, the last thing you want your money in is just a straight row of reds. That's wildly ugly, and again, there's not a lot of history there, so we are in all-time lows, and it's just going down. Look, I live in LA. There is actually a Polestar dealership not that far from my house. Believe me, I understand the hype of, again, a car company at only, $7 a share, right? Only $8 a share. I mean, it's literally at 5 something now. And don't tell yourself $5 a share is a good deal if this thing ends up dropping to 2. Right? And by no means am I saying it's going to go there, right? That's literally a made up number, but there is no history. There's no support to be made. There is nothing but black bottom right here, right? Until we set up a new support. And again, look how far we are from the 8 moving average on the weekly, right? So trade safely. Again, if we all had enough infinite funds, we would all just keep averaging down, right? But at some point, averaging down gets way too expensive, very unrealistic, and man, all that money you spent earlier literally should have just been saved, waited for the end, and then even a little after the end, whatever. It's not about, constantly averaging down. I promise that'll hurt you a lot more. I remember VLDR was also in this tight channel as well. I remember on the 19th, it looked like it had lost it a little bit before EVGO, and honestly, that's what I'm seeing here, right? We've essentially been trading under the 8 almost every day except yesterday. This is a really ugly RSI, and it has been lower before, right? It's been in these the teen area before, right? So understand, again, this is a really good technology at $1 a share, but it was also a really good technology at $2 a share, and that's a 50% drop in not that long a time, right? And what's the next line at? Are we at the last line? Geez, let me zoom out to the weekly. We're at the last line, people. After this support, if we lose 95 cents, there is no more support. And just like we saw with Polestar, with MULN, with a bunch of them, the last place you want your hard-earned money is in all-time lows. I promise you, Solo, again, we just lost this 122 support. Was that the last one? Let me go to the weekly. It wasn't, but I definitely have to draw a few more lines. Give me a second. Let's make one right here. I'm actually using this guy. Oh, and it hit this one perfectly. And then I'll do one more at actual bottom. All right, dang. So look, again, this might go all the way down to 99 cents, depending how this plays out. So I understand 121 looks like a good deal. That's another almost 20% drop, right? So be careful out there with Solo. And then last on this is ChargePoint. Man, I'm telling you, ChargePoint, this was one that was extremely bullish. It did the same Tesla run, right? So I like kind of giving ChargePoint a little bit more validation just because it really mimics Tesla a lot, right? And I don't know a lot of the fundamentals on this one, but that might be something I'd look into, right? Is what do those earning calls look like? What do the financials look like? And this is one I would keep on my radar if you are a long-term player. But again, short-term, we're now in this EVGO channel, right? We're now in this VLDR channel, and all of them did this sad exit down, right? Literally, the blue one's right here, the red one's right here, purple's right there, orange right there, green. They are all 5 right here, again, with 2 lines. You can roughly say 3 cutting through it, right? So find the similarities and get out and save yourself before it mimics it, right? That's a lot of the goal here. Look, this weekly is not as ugly as the other ones, right? Again, 2 weeks under the green line, but still kind of trying to survive this orange 20 line, right? If it loses the 20, bad things will happen, right? Just like if it loses this cluster, bad things will happen, right? So I know there's a lot of really good long-term stocks that I showed here, but in the short term, things are looking scary, and I sincerely hope you make a plan with your hard-earned money. Again, I really hope you're learning. I really sincerely do. And hey, I'm waiting for everything to be positive and bullish, believe me. But I take my emotions out and I trade based on what I see. So I hope you're learning one last time.